The marble floors of the Castellano estate gleamed under my cloth for the 100th time this month. 6 months I'd been here, moving through these gilded rooms like a ghost. That's what domestic workers become in houses like this. Present but unseen, necessary but invisible. My name is Sofia Reyes, and I clean the home of one of Chicago's most powerful men. The estate sprawls across 4 acres of prime Chicago real estate, all floor-to-ceiling windows and imported Italian marble. Rooms filled with artwork worth more than I'll earn in a lifetime. I polish furniture I'll never own, arrange flowers that cost what I make in a week, and fold linens softer than anything in my cramped studio apartment. Dante Castellano himself is a presence I've learned to anticipate and avoid. His footsteps echo differently than anyone else's, measured, commanding, absolute. I've caught glimpses of him through doorways, jet black hair always immaculately styled, custom suits that move like water, eyes the color of smoke that seem to see everything except me. He conducts business in the East Wing with men who speak in hushed tones and exit through private entrances. I clean up after them, empty tumblers still fragrant with aged scotch, ashtrays holding the remnants of expensive cigars. I don't ask questions. Questions aren't part of my job description. My job is to be invisible. The only exception to my solitary existence is my cousin, Marcus. He works security at the estate, 25 years old with our grandmother's infectious smile and none of my learned caution. We carpool from our neighborhood in Pilsen, sharing gas money and companionable silence on the long drives. Marcus doesn't know about the dead. Nobody does, except the collection agencies that call my phone 3 times a week. $62,000 in medical bills for my father's final year. Pancreatic cancer that devoured him slowly, expensively, mercilessly. He died 18 months ago, but the invoices keep arriving like clockwork, reminders that grief has a price tag, and it comes with interest rates that should be illegal. I signed payment agreements I'll be honoring until I'm 40, accepted terms designed to keep people like me perpetually in debt. So I work every shift offered, pick up extra hours without complaint, and survive on instant ramen and the kind of hope that costs nothing but sustains little. Wednesday evening, the grandfather clock in the entrance hall chimes 9 times as I finish mopping the hallway. My knees ache from scrubbing bathroom tiles all afternoon, and my lower back screams in protest every time I bend to wring out the mop. November in Chicago means darkness arrives early, swallowing the city by 5 o'clock. Through the massive windows, I watch sleep begin to coat the glass. Heading out, Marcus appears from the security office, pulling on his jacket. He smells like the coffee he drinks by the gallon during his shifts. Yeah, long day. He studies me with that particular intensity only family can manage. You look dead on your feet, Sophia. I'm fine. You always say that. He slings his backpack over one shoulder. Movie night this weekend? I'll order pizza. If I'm not working. Soph, his voice carries gentle reproach. You can't keep pulling doubles forever. I can until the next payment clears. I'm short $300. Outside, the sleet has transformed into freezing rain. We huddle under the awning by the service entrance while Marcus checks the weather app on his phone. Train's running, but there's delays. Want to just make a run for it? 4 blocks. That's the distance from the Castellano estate to the Roosevelt Road station. We've walked it hundreds of times, usually together, sometimes alone when our schedules don't align. The neighborhood is supposed to be secure. This is Castellano territory, after all. I've heard the whispers about what that means. Protection, order, consequences for those who break the rules. Then Marcus's phone buzzes. He reads the message and curses under his breath. Emergency at my girlfriend's place. Her roommate's locked out in this weather. He looks at me apologetically. I'm so sorry, Soph. I have to. Go, I tell him. I'll be fine. You sure? It's only 4 blocks. He kisses my cheek and jogs toward the staff parking lot where his beaten Honda sits. I watch his taillights disappear into the freezing rain before pulling my hood up and starting to walk. The street feels emptier than usual. Most businesses have already closed, their windows dark except for security lights casting everything in harsh fluorescent white. My sneakers splash through icy puddles, soaking through to my socks within 2 blocks. I keep my head down, counting storefronts like a mantra. The Thai restaurant, the bodega, the laundromat with its perpetually broken sign. 3 blocks down, 1 to go. The parking garage entrance appears on my right, a dark mouth between 2 buildings. I've passed it countless times without a second thought. Tonight, 3 figures emerge from the shadows, blocking the sidewalk. My heart launches into my throat. Evening. The speaker is white, maybe early 30s, with a low buzz cut and a leather jacket that looks expensive. His 2 companions are bigger, silent sentinels flanking him. Evening. I step to the side, trying to move around them. The speaker shifts, staying in my path. Not so fast. Where are you rushing off to? Home, excuse me. Polite, I like that. He smiles, but there's nothing friendly in it. Just being neighborly, making conversation. The 2 larger men move to cut off any retreat. My stomach drops like an elevator with cut cables. I don't want trouble, I manage. No trouble at all. He holds up his hands in mock innocence. Just hand over that bag and your phone. Nice and easy. My mind races through impossible options. Scream, but who would hear over the wind and rain? Run, but where? Fight against 3 men twice my size? With shaking hands, I pull my crossbody bag over my head and extend it toward him. He takes it, ruffles through quickly, pockets my wallet. Then his eyes land on my shirt, the gray polo with the estate's discreet emblem embroidered on the chest. His expression changes. Hold on, he steps closer, rain streaming down his face. You work at that place, the big estate on the corner. Fear spikes through me, sharp as broken glass. No. Don't lie. He grabs my collar, yanking me forward. You work for Castellano, don't you? I'm just a cleaner. I don't know anything. He looks at his companions, something dark and hungry crossing his features. She works for Castellano. I just clean houses, I say desperately. Please, I don't know anything about... Just a cleaner, he interrupts, voice dripping with contempt. Well, just a cleaner, you're going to deliver a message for us. The first punch comes from nowhere, exploding across my cheekbone. Pain detonates white-hot behind my eyes, and I stagger backward. Before I can recover, hands grab my arms, fingers digging in hard enough to bruise. I try to scream, but a palm clans over my mouth. This is what happens, he hisses in my ear, when people think they own our streets, when they think their Italian boss can push us around. The second hit catches my ribs, then another, and another. I stop counting after 5, stop trying to fight, just curl inward, protecting my head, praying for it to end. Someone grabs my hair, wrenches my head back. I see his fist coming toward my face. Then nothing. I don't know how long I'm unconscious, could be seconds or hours. When awareness returns, I'm lying on wet concrete, freezing rain hammering against my back. Every breath feels like inhaling broken glass. My left eye won't open, swollen shut and throbbing. Blood fills my mouth, copper and wrong. They're gone. My bag, my phone, my attackers, all vanished into the November night. I push myself to sitting, fighting back a sob as my ribs scream in protest. My hands are scraped raw, jeans torn at both knees. Through my one working eye, I can see the train station ahead, its lights wavering through the rain in my tears. Get up, move, get home. The walk is fragments I can't quite stitch together, stumbling through the turnstile, a teenager's horrified face asking if I need help, me shaking my head, mistake, everything hurts, the jarring motion of the train. The stairs to my apartment building might as well be Everest. My bathroom mirror tells a story my body already knows. Left eye swollen completely shut, purple spreading across the socket like spilled ink, bottom lip split open, still bleeding sluggishly. When I lift my shirt, bruises are already blooming across my ribs in shades of red and deep purple. I turn on the shower and sit on the floor fully clothed while steam fills the space. Only then do I let myself cry. Quiet, controlled sobs so I won't wake my neighbors. But Marcus comes anyway. His apartment is next to mine, and he must hear something through the thin walls because suddenly he's pounding on my door, then using his emergency key when I don't answer fast enough. Sophia? His voice cracks when he finds me in the bathroom. Jesus Christ, Sophia. I'm okay. You're bleeding. We need to get you to the hospital. No, the word comes out sharper than intended. Marcus, I can't afford the ER. I can't. He crouches beside me, hands hovering like he's afraid touching me will cause more damage. What happened? Mugged. 3 guys. They took everything. Did you call the police? No phone, remember? I try to smile, but my split lip makes me wince. It's fine. I'll report it tomorrow. Marcus's expression says he believes none of this is fine, but he doesn't argue. Instead, he helps me out of her wet clothes, steadies her through a shower that turns the water pink, and bandages the worst scrapes with supplies from his first aid kit. When I finally collapse into bed, he sits beside me in the dark. I shouldn't have left you alone, he whispers. Not your fault. But as I lie there, every part of my body screaming, I can't stop replaying the moment they saw my uniform, the recognition, the deliberate violence that followed. This wasn't random. And somehow that makes it infinitely worse. Sleep comes in jagged pieces, shattered by pain that pulses through my ribs with each breath. When my alarm goes off at 5:30, I stare at the ceiling and contemplate mathematics of missing work. I need every shift, every dollar. The debt doesn't care if I've been beaten half to death. $62,000. That number haunts me, follows me like a shadow I can't escape. Each month I chip away at it. 200 here, 400 when I work overtime. But the interest keeps it alive, growing, breathing. Missing even one day means falling further behind. I drag myself upright, swallowing a groan as my ribs protest. The bathroom mirror shows me exactly what I'm working with. My left eye has transformed into something from a horror movie, swollen and purple black. The cut on my lip has scabbed overnight. Bruises bloom across my jaw and cheekbone like grotesque flowers. Makeup becomes armor. I layer concealer thick enough to hide some of the damage, though nothing can disguise the swelling. Foundation in multiple shades to try to approximate my normal skin tone. The eye is hopeless. I settle for making the rest of my face look human. I pull on a turtleneck despite the building's overactive heating, gray, high-necked, covering every bruise I care. When I check my reflection one final time, I look like a bad impersonation of myself. Marcus is already in my kitchen when I emerged, and his face crumbles. Don't, I say before he can start. I'm going to work. Sophia, you can barely stand. I can stand fine. A lie. Every step sends shockwaves through my left side. And I need the money. Payments due in 10 days. I'm already short. He opens his mouth, closes it. We both know the math. Both live inside the same crushing reality. At least let me drive you, he says finally. I accept because the thought of public transit makes me want to cry. At the estate, it looks exactly as it always does. Beautiful, imposing, utterly indifferent to my suffering. Marcus drops me at the service entrance with a look that promises we'll discuss this later, then heads to the security office. I make it through the morning on autopilot, dust the study, vacuum the second floor corridor, change linens in the guest suites. Each task requires intense focus to complete without aggravating my injuries. Around noon, Marcus finds me in the linen closet, folding towels with careful, deliberate movements. You look worse, he says bluntly. Thanks. I'm serious. Your face is twice its normal size. It's fine. He steps closer, dropping his voice. Did you at least file a police report? Oh well, after work. Another lie. What would I tell them?
Know what she does here? She cleans. She arranges flowers. She's 28 years old, working double shifts to pay off her dead father's medical bills. And you beat her unconscious in the rain for politics. The silence that follows is absolute. Even from my position by the door, I can feel the weight of it, heavy and suffocating. Then Dante asks the question that makes my breath catch in my throat. Who did this to you? His voice is barely above a whisper, but it carries more menace than any scream could have. Each word falls like a stone into still water, creating ripples of dread. I did. Petrov's voice breaks. I did it. Victor held her, Dmitri watched, but I hit her. I'm sorry, Mr. Castellano, I'm so sorry. You're sorry because you got caught, because you're kneeling here instead of sleeping peacefully in whatever hole you crawled out of. Dante stands, turns his back on the kneeling man, walks to his desk. The casual dismissal is somehow more frightening than any display of rage. You're sorry because you know what comes next. Franco, Dante's tone shifts to pure business. Take them. Make it clean. I want Kozlov to receive a message, but I don't want bodies creating problems with the harbor police. Understood. Luka gestures to the other men, who move forward to haul Petrov and his companions to their feet. Wait, Petrov struggles against the hands gripping his arms. Please, Mr. Castellano, I have a family. So did she. Dante doesn't turn around. Her father died of cancer. Her cousin works in my security. She has people who love her, people who depend on her, just like you claim to have. The difference is, she never put her hands on anyone. She just tried to go home after working a double shift. Take them. I retreat before I can see more, pressing myself against the wall around the corner, pulse pounding so hard I think they'll hear it. Footsteps approach. I hold perfectly still as Luka and his man lead the prisoners past, moving towards what I assume is a back exit. Petrov is crying now, quiet, desperate sobs that make my stomach twist despite everything. The office door clicks shut. I wait until the footsteps fade completely before creeping back upstairs, legs shaking so badly I have to grip the railing for support. Back in the guest room, I sit on the edge of the bed, hands trembling. I've just watched Dante Castellano condemn 3 men to death, calmly, efficiently, with less emotion than I'd use ordering coffee. And the worst part, the part that should terrify me but instead leaves me feeling strangely hollow, is that I can't bring myself to care. They beat me unconscious, left me bleeding in an alley. Now they'll pay for it. I should feel guilt, horror, some sort of moral revulsion at being complicit in violence. Instead, I feel nothing but cold satisfaction. Hours pass. I watch through the window as black SUVs pull away from the house, headlights cutting through the pre-dawn darkness. 3 vehicles moving in formation, carrying men with guns and zip-tied prisoners to whatever fate Dante ordained for them. I wonder if I've just become an accessory to murder. Wonder if I care. The sky is beginning to lighten when a soft knock comes at my door. I've thrown on a robe over the borrowed pajamas. When I open the door, Dante stands there holding 2 cups of coffee. He looks tired, the first time I've ever seen even a hint of weariness in his carefully controlled facade. Did I wake you? He asks. I couldn't sleep. He nods, unsurprised, and holds out one of the cups. I take it, our fingers brushing briefly in the exchange. The coffee is perfect, cream and sugar in exactly the proportions I prefer. Of course he knows. He knows everything. Can I come in? He asks. I step back, letting him enter. He moves to the chair by the window, the same one I've been occupying for hours, and I perch on the edge of the bed. What happened to them? The question emerges before I can second guess asking it. Dante studies me over the rim of his coffee cup, gray eyes assessing. They paid for their mistake. That's not an answer. It's the only one you need. His voice is gentle but firm. You don't want details, Sofia. Trust me on this. How do you know what I want? Because I've seen that look before, the one you're wearing right now, the one that says you're trying to figure out if you should feel guilty for not feeling guilty. He sets his cup on the side table. Don't. Those men made choices. They dealt in violence. They knew the risks. I sip my coffee, letting the warmth seep into my hands, chase away some of the chill that settled into my bones. I should be afraid of you, I say quietly. Probably. I'm not. I know. He leans forward, elbows on his knees, and for a moment he looks less like a crime boss and more like just a man carrying heavy burdens. How do you feel, honestly? My ribs hurt, my face hurt, everything hurts. I touch my swollen eye gingerly, but safer than I felt since Wednesday night. Satisfaction flickers across his features, there and gone. Good, that's what matters. He stands, crosses the space between us in 2 strides. Let me see. I tilt my face up. His fingers brush my jaw, turning my head to catch the early morning light streaming through the window. His touch is careful, almost clinical, but there's something else underneath it, something that makes my skin tingle and my breath catch. The swelling's gone down a little, he observes, but you need a proper medical evaluation. Dr. Moretti is expecting us at 10. I can't afford... I wasn't asking about your finances. His thumb traces the edge of the bruise on my cheekbone with unexpected gentleness. This happened because of me, because you work in my house, on my street. That makes it my responsibility. That's not how responsibility works. It is in my world. He withdraws his hand, and I immediately miss the warmth. Get dressed. Wear something comfortable. We leave in an hour. He moves towards the door, then pauses, looking back at me with an expression I can't quite read. For what it's worth, he says quietly, you're not just a housekeeper to me. You never were. Then he's gone, leaving me alone with those words echoing in my head and coffee growing cold in my hands. Through the window, full daylight is breaking over the city, painting everything in shades of gold and rose. Somewhere out there, 3 men who hurt me are facing consequences I can't let myself imagine. And here I sit in a mansion that should feel like a cage, but instead feels like sanctuary, drinking coffee made exactly how I like it by a man who commands death with a whisper. The world has shifted overnight, and sitting there in borrowed pajamas, watching the sunrise over a city full of violence and beauty, I realize I've shifted with it.
Dante insisted we leave within the hour, and I didn't have the energy to argue. Marcus helped me dress in jeans and a soft navy sweater he'd brought from my apartment, moving around me with careful efficiency while pointedly not mentioning the events of the previous night. We both knew what had happened. Neither of us wanted to say it aloud. The SUV waiting outside was sleek and black, windows tinted dark enough to hide whoever sat inside. Dante held the back door open, and I climbed in, biting back a gasp as my ribs protested the movement. He slid in beside me, not across from me, not in the front with the driver, but right there in the back seat, close enough that I could smell sandalwood and expensive cologne. You don't need to come, I said, as the vehicle pulled into traffic. Just send me with Luca. I'm coming. Final. Absolute. Dr. Moretti is expecting both of us. The drive should have been awkward. Instead, silence settled between us like something almost comfortable. I watched the city slide past through tinted glass, tried not to think about how much a private medical visit would cost, how many months of payments I'd be adding to my already impossible debt. Stop calculating, Dante said without looking at me. I wasn't. You were. I can practically hear you doing math. He glanced over briefly. Whatever you're worried about, don't be. This isn't your expense. I can't let you pay. You're not letting me do anything. I'm doing it because someone was attacked on my street, in my territory, wearing my household's uniform. That makes it my responsibility. His hands tightened fractionally on the steering wheel. Besides, you work for me. Consider it workers' compensation. That's not how workers' comp. It's how mine does. The clinic occupied the 3rd floor of an unremarkable building in River North. No sign outside, no indication it was anything other than offices. Dante led me through a private entrance. Upstairs, I climbed slowly, each step a fresh reminder of Wednesday night. Dr. Moretti was perhaps 55, with silver-streaked hair and hands that looked like they belonged to a surgeon. She examined my face with clinical detachment, palpating the swelling around my eye, checking my pupil responses. No sign of orbital fracture, she said, making notes on a tablet. Significant soft tissue damage, but it'll heal. How's your vision? Blurry in the left eye, but improving. Good. Now the ribs. She gestured to an exam table. Shirt off. You can keep your bra on. I hesitated, acutely aware of Dante standing against the wall, watching. Dr. Moretti noticed my discomfort. Mr. Castellano, perhaps. I'm staying. Dante's tone allowed no argument, but he turned to face the window, offering me that small privacy. I peeled off the sweater carefully, trying not to gasp when the movement pulled at damaged tissue. The bruises had ripened overnight into spectacular shades of purple and yellow, spreading across my left side like some grotesque watercolor. Dr. Moretti's professional mask slipped for just a moment. Christ! Then she was all business again, pressing carefully along my ribs. When she reached the seventh one, I couldn't contain the sharp intake of breath. Easy, she murmured. Fractured, probably. Let's get an X-ray to confirm. The portable machine emerged from a side room, and for the next 10 minutes I held various uncomfortable positions while trying not to cry from the pain. Dante had turned back around, and I felt his gaze on me like a physical weight. The X-ray confirmed it. My seventh rib on the left side had a clean break. Not displaced, which Dr. Moretti explained meant it would heal without surgery, but it would take time. 8 weeks minimum, she said, wrapping my torso in a compression bandage that made breathing easier. No heavy lifting, no strenuous exercise. If the pain worsens or you develop difficulty breathing, call me immediately. She prescribed painkillers I knew I couldn't afford, and anti-inflammatories that would probably cost half my rent. She needs rest, Dr. Moretti said, glancing at Dante. Real rest, not working through it. She'll rest, Dante accepted the prescriptions. I'll make sure of it. When I went behind the privacy screen to dress, I heard the payment happening in low voices I couldn't quite make out. By the time I emerged, Dante was tucking his wallet away, and Dr. Moretti was handing me a bag with prescriptions already filled. You keep medications here? I asked. For special patients. Dr. Moretti's expression suggested she didn't want to elaborate. Take one of the white pills every 6 hours for pain. The blue ones are anti-inflammatory, twice daily with food. Call if you need anything. Back in the SUV, I stared at the prescription bag in my lap. How much did that cost? Not your concern. Dante. Sofia. He turned to face me fully, one hand draped over the steering wheel. Let me ask you something. If Marcus had been attacked the way you were, if he'd been beaten unconscious in my territory, would you want him worrying about medical bills? That's different. How? I opened my mouth, closed it. Couldn't find an answer that didn't sound hollow. You've worked in my house for 6 months, he continued, voice softer now. I know things about you. How you organize the library books by subject even though no one asked you to. How you fold the newspapers so the headlines face up. How you water the orchids every week because they need consistent care. He paused. How you never complain, never ask for anything. Just show up and do your job with the kind of quiet competence most people wouldn't notice. You noticed, I whispered. I notice everything, Sofia. The drive back to the estate passed in silence, but it felt different than before. Charged, like something unspoken was building between us, pressing against the confines of the car. When we arrived, Dante ordered me to rest for the remainder of the weekend. No work, no cleaning, just recovery. Marcus appeared with soup and tea, fussing over me until I reminded him I was technically older by 3 months. But even as I protested, warmth spread through my chest at his concern. What surprised me was Dante. Throughout Friday and Saturday, he materialized at odd intervals, always with some excuse, always brief, but present. He brought food when Marcus was occupied, checked that I'd taken my medication, adjusted pillows when he caught me wincing. Each interaction was careful, controlled, but underneath the control I sensed something else, something that made my pulse quicken whenever he entered the room. Saturday evening, I found myself on the balcony, the same one I'd cleaned dozens of times, admiring the view while scrubbing furniture I'd never expected to actually use. Now I occupied one of the wrought iron chairs, wrapped in a blanket against the November chill, watching the sunset over the city. Dante emerged from the house carrying 2 glasses of wine and a cigar. He handed me 1 glass, red wine, my favorite, though I'd never told him, and settled into the chair beside mine. How do you feel? He asked, lighting the cigar with practice ease. Sore, but better. I sipped the wine, let the warmth seep into my hands. Good. He exhaled smoke that curled into the evening air, dissipating into twilight. Dr. Moretti says you'll heal completely, no permanent damage. Physically, anyway. He turned to look at me, gray eyes searching. Are you afraid? Of what? Going back out there, walking those streets again? I considered the question seriously. Was I afraid? Wednesday night played on repeat in my mind. The rain, the parking garage, the hands grabbing me. But underneath the fear was something else, something harder. No, I said finally. I'm angry. Good. Satisfaction flickered across his features. Anger is useful. Fear makes you weak. Anger makes you sharp. We sat in comfortable silence, watching the sky turn from gold to purple to deep blue. Finally, I asked the question that had been building since yesterday. Why did you take over your father's business? You could have done anything, been anything. Dante was quiet so long I thought he wouldn't answer. Then, my father died when I was 24, stroke, sudden and violent. He left me an empire built over 30 years and 300 families who depended on us for work, protection, justice the law wouldn't provide. He studied the cigar, watching the ember glow. I could have walked away, sold everything, moved to Europe, lived off the money. But those families would have been absorbed by rivals or left to fend for themselves in a city that doesn't forgive weakness. So you chose responsibility over freedom. I chose honor over ease. He glanced at me. What about you? Why do you work so hard? The double shifts, the overtime, it's more than just making ends meet. The dead. The number that haunted me. I took a breath, felt it pull at my wrapped ribs, and told him about my father's cancer. The treatments that promised hope but delivered only more pain. The bills that arrived after his funeral like accusations. $62,000 in debt that would follow me for years. Dante listened without interruption, without judgment. When he finished, he simply nodded. That kind of debt, it's designed to be impossible, he said. They know most people will pay minimum amounts forever, feeding the interest machine. It's legal extortion. Maybe, but it's still mine to pay. Because you honor your obligations. The way he said it, like it was a virtue instead of a burden, made my throat tight. Night had fully fallen now, stars emerging overhead despite the city lights. Dante reached over and adjusted the blanket that had slipped from my shoulder, his fingers brushing my neck with unexpected gentleness. You should rest, he said. Tomorrow we'll discuss longer-term arrangements. Arrangements. You're not going back to walking home alone at night, not for a while. He stood, stubbing out the cigar. We'll figure something out that doesn't make you feel caged. He left me there on the balcony, the city spread out below like a glittering promise. And for the first time since Wednesday night, I felt something other than pain or anger. I felt seen, protected. Like maybe impossibly, I mattered to someone who could move mountains with a word. Monday morning arrived with news that rippled through the estate like an earthquake. I heard it first from the head housekeeper, Rosa, who whispered to another staff member in the hallway outside Dante's office. 4 Russian establishments hit over the weekend, a gambling operation in Bridgeport, a nightclub that fronted money laundering in the Loop, a warehouse near the docks that everyone knew stored contraband, and a shipping company in Pilsen. No one killed, but the message was unmistakable. Dante Castellano had responded to the attack on me with surgical precision. I returned to work despite Marcus's protests and my body's screaming objections. The compression wrap around my ribs made breathing easier, but every deep inhale reminded me of Wednesday night. Every time I turned too quickly, pain flared along my left side like lightning. Dante found me in the second-floor hallway, dusting a mirror I could barely reach without gasping. What are you doing? His voice was low, controlled, but I heard the displeasure underneath. My job. You're supposed to be resting. I've rested all weekend. I need to work. I kept my focus on the mirror, watching his reflection rather than turning to face him. Bills don't pay themselves. He crossed the space between us in 3 strides, took the cleaning cloth from my hand and set it aside. No heavy lifting, no reaching above your head, no bending that makes you wince like you're being stabbed. His gray eyes searched my face. You're wearing the compression wrap? Yes, taking the medication every 6 hours, just like Dr. Moretti said. Good. He retrieved the cloth, handed it back. Light work only. If I catch you doing anything strenuous, I'm sending you home. Understood? Understood. But he didn't leave, just stood there studying me with that intensity that made my pulse quicken for reasons that had nothing to do with fear. How's the pain? 1 to 10. 4, maybe 5 when I move wrong. Better than Friday. It's healing. I gestured towards the stairs. I should finish. You have people coming this afternoon.
The days following that first kiss blurred into something I'd never experienced before, a secret carved out of stolen moments. Dante would find me in empty hallways, pull me into unused rooms, kiss me until my knees weakened and my carefully constructed boundaries dissolved. We talked in hushed voices after everyone else had gone home, conversations that stretched into early morning hours about everything and nothing. His childhood in Sicily before his family immigrated, my father's final months, the weight of inheriting empires neither of us had asked for. My ribs still ached when I moved wrong, a constant reminder that I wasn't fully healed. But the pain was fading, becoming background noise instead of the main event. 4 weeks had passed since the attack, and the bruises had disappeared entirely. Only the fractured rib remained, sensitive but improving. Marcus caught us one evening in the kitchen. He'd come back for something he'd forgotten and found me pressed against the counter with Dante's mouth on mine, his hands careful on my waist, avoiding the compression wrap I still wore. "Oh my God," he breathed. We broke apart. Dante didn't look remotely embarrassed, just slightly inconvenienced by the interruption. I felt heat flood my face. "Marcus." "No, it's fine. He looked between us, processing. Okay,
This is happening. This is actually happening. Are you upset? I asked. He studied Dante with the same critical eye he'd used to evaluate my boyfriend since we were teenagers. Are you going to hurt her? No. Simple. Absolute. Are you going to get her killed because someone wants to hurt you through her? I'd burn this city to the ground first. Marcus absorbed this, then nodded once. Okay then. But Sofia, we're talking about this later, extensively. He left and Dante pulled me back against him, gentler this time. Your cousin is terrifying, he murmured against my hair. He's protective. So am I. Luca cornered me 3 days later while I was organizing the study. He's different because of you, he said without preamble. Lighter somehow. I've known him 14 years, and I've never seen him smile like he does when you walk into a room. Is that a problem? Depends. Luca's expression was serious. Can you handle what comes with being his weakness? Because that's what you are now, Sofia. The thing people will use to hurt him. The leverage. The pressure point. I know what I'm getting into. Do you? He didn't sound convinced. This world doesn't do casual. There's no halfway with someone like Dante. You're either all in or you walk away now before it's too late. I'm all in. He studied me for a long moment, then nodded once. Good. He needs someone worth fighting for, someone who reminds him he's still human underneath all the rest. 4 weeks to the day after I'd been attacked, Dante told me to dress nicely for dinner. Not work clothes, something that made a statement. I borrowed a dress from a colleague, deep burgundy that brought out my eyes, fitted but comfortable with the compression wrap underneath. Dante appeared at my door wearing a suit that probably cost more than my car, his dark hair perfectly styled, and those gray eyes heating when they landed on me. Beautiful, he said simply. The restaurant was elegant, the kind with cloth napkins and wine lists thicker than novels. We were escorted to a private room in the back, and my stomach dropped when I saw who was already seated. A man in his 60s, heavy-set, with a scar cutting through his right eyebrow. 2 bodyguards flanked him, stone-faced and watchful. This had to be Kozlov. Mr. Castellano, the man stood, offering his hand. And this must be the young lady who caused all the trouble. Sofia, Dante said, his hand finding the small of my back. This is Victor Kozlov. We're here to establish new boundaries. Kozlov's eyes tracked over me with unsettling interest, like he was cataloging weaknesses. Please, said, I've taken the liberty of ordering wine. The dinner was a masterclass in veiled threats disguised as polite conversation. Kozlov offered compensation for the unfortunate incident, $75,000, he said, as if that price tag could erase what his men had done. Dante's refusal was iced cold and absolute. I don't want your money. I want your word that no member of your organization touches anyone connected to me, not my staff, not my businesses, not the people who live in my territory. You overstep those boundaries again, and we stop pretending this is about diplomacy. That's quite an ultimatum, Mr. Castellano. It's not an ultimatum, it's a statement of fact. Dante's voice never rose, never wavered. You wanted to test me, see if I'd gone soft. Consider the test concluded. 4 of your operations shut down in 1 weekend. That was restraint. Push me again, and I'll show you what happens when I stop being restrained. Kozlov's jaw tightened, but he nodded once. Understood. Your territory remains yours. Your people remain untouched. Good. Dante stood, helping me to my feet. Then we have nothing more to discuss. In the car afterward, I finally released the breath I'd been holding. That was terrifying. That was necessary. Dante's hand found mine, lacing our fingers together. He needed to see you're not just staff. He needed to understand what you mean to me. And what do you mean to me? He looked at me then, something raw and unguarded in his expression. Everything I shouldn't want and can't give up. Back at the estate, reality settled in. Dante explained what Kozlov's interest meant. I was now a known weakness, a target anyone wanting to hurt him would identify. He wanted me to move into the mansion permanently. Accept bodyguards, let him control every movement for my safety. No, the word came out harder than I intended. I'm not becoming a prisoner, Dante. I won't live in a gilded cage because your world is dangerous. You think I'm trying to cage you? Frustration bled into his voice. I'm trying to keep you alive. By taking away my choices, by making every decision for me, by protecting what's mine. I'm not property. We stood in his study, tension crackling between us like lightning. His hands curled into fists at his sides, jaw tight with the effort of controlling his temper. Finally, he exhaled. Then what do you suggest? Because doing nothing isn't an option. We compromised. I kept my apartment, maintained my independence, but accepted discreet security when I went out at night. a driver when I worked late, parameters that made him feel I was protected without making me feel owned. I need you to understand something, I said quietly. I'm choosing this, choosing you, but I need to choose it, not have it forced on me. I understand. He crossed to me, cupped my face with both hands, thumbs tracing my cheekbones where bruises used to be. Then he bent to kiss the spot on my left side where the 7th rib had been fractured, a promise made flesh that he'd protect what was his, honor what we'd built, choose me as deliberately as I'd chosen him. I love you, he said against my skin. I don't say that lightly, but I need you to know. I love you too. The words came easily, naturally. Even though you're complicated and dangerous and you do terrible things to maintain power, especially because of that, maybe a little. We stood together as the city woke beneath us, two people who'd found each other through impossible circumstances and built something that defied every logical boundary. His world would always carry risk. Mine would always be complicated by association. But lying there in dawnlight, his hands gentle on my healing ribs, I realized I'd stopped surviving and started living. The medical debt was gone, my body had healed, and I'd found something I never expected in a mansion I'd only meant to clean, a man who saw me completely and chose me anyway. Ready to face the day? Dante asked. I leaned into him, felt his heart beating steady against my back. With you, always. The estate looked different in summer light, gardens in full bloom, windows open to let in the breeze off Lake Michigan. I'd officially moved in 3 months ago, but kept my apartment for the nights I needed space. Dante understood. He always understood. My new position as his personal assistant came with an office next to his, a salary that allowed me to save money for the first time in my life, and respect from his organization that I'd earned rather than demanded. Marcus had been promoted to head of security, a position he took with characteristic seriousness and occasional jokes about keeping his cousin's boyfriend in line. We still had family dinners every Sunday, just the two of us, takeout and terrible movies, maintaining the connection that had sustained us through harder times. The Russian territories had stabilized under new leadership that respected Dante's boundaries. Kozlov's nephew proved more reasonable than his uncle, more interested in profit than pride. And I'd learned to navigate Dante's world without losing myself in it. The balancing act wasn't always easy. There were still moments when his violence terrified me, when the reality of what he did crashed against my conscience. But he never hid it from me, never pretended to be something he wasn't. And I chose him anyway, every single day. Sofia, I looked up from the documents I'd been reviewing to find Dante in my office doorway. Come with me, I have something to show you. He led me downstairs to the garage where a sleek silver sedan sat with a bow on the hood. What's this? Yours. He handed me the keys. You've been borrowing mine or using the driver for 6 months. I thought you might want your own. I stared at the car, then at him. Dante, this is too much. It's practical, safe, has all the security features that make me sleep at night knowing you're driving it. He pulled me against me. And before you argue, consider it an investment in my mental health. I laughed despite myself. Your mental health. Do you know what it's like worrying about you every time you leave? This helps. You're impossible. You love me anyway. I do. I kissed him, soft and sure, even when you're overprotective and make grand gestures I don't know how to accept. Then just say thank you and let me spoil you occasionally. Thank you. We stood there in the garage, wrapped in each other, and I thought about how far I'd come from that November night when I'd been beaten in an alley for wearing the wrong uniform. How that violence had led to this. Safety, love, a life I'd never imagined possible. What are you thinking? Dante asked. That 8 months ago, I was invisible. And now I'm seen, really seen, for the first time in my life. You were never invisible to me, he said quietly. Even before I knew it, I was noticing you. The way you moved through my house, the care you took with small things. You were always there, Sofia. I just had to open my eyes. And now I can't imagine not seeing you, not having you in my life. He kissed my forehead. You changed everything. Made me want something more than power and territory. Made me remember what it feels like to care about someone more than the empire. Through the open garage door, I could see the gardens in full bloom. Flowers I'd arranged as a housekeeper, now surrounding the home I shared with a man who commanded an empire. The world hadn't stopped being dangerous. Dante's life still carried risks I navigated carefully. But I wasn't no longer afraid.